Is that a giant sword in your pants, or are you just happy to see me? Welcome back to Watch It in Action. I'm BouseFeenux, and today we're going to be taking a look at the heavy artillery of melee weapons, the Galatine. The Galatine is a great sword in Warframe and boasts one of the highest base damages and attack speed of the heavy blade class. The Galatine is also capable of hitting up to 5 enemies in a single strike. As if that weren't enough, this powerhouse of a weapon is available to players at the low mastery rank of 3. Where it does fall short, however, is its lack of critical chance and the fact that its massive base damage comes primarily in the form of slash damage, which will make it very ineffective against high-level armored targets such as the grineer or the corrupted enemies in the void. Still though, this can be compensated for by running with a squad of corrosive projections, which will remove enemy armor. Realistically though, if you've taken the time to mod this weapon appropriately, there won't be much that can stand in your way. Now, before we get to the build, I want to go ahead and note that this is a beloved weapon of many players, and everyone and their mother has a build for this that they think is best. But, please keep in mind that this is my build, and the one that I've found to be most effective. Now, I have played with a lot of different mods and configurations for this weapon, and what I'm about to show you felt the best to me. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the build, and I'll let the tests in the simulacrum speak for themselves. The Galatine build we put together actually requires 0 forma. Now, if you want to do some other things that I'm going to talk about here in a second, you will need to forma this weapon, but as it stands, this build, exactly as you see it, will fit without forma and only a catalyst. So that's all you need here, is just a catalyst and a stance mod to get you to that 70 capacity here, and that'll fit everything like a glove. Now, as for the stance, a lot of people will argue over this, and some people like Tempo Royale, some people like Cleaving Whirlwind. Cleaving Whirlwind is a great stance. These are both awesome stances to use on this weapon, and they both fit without you having to form the polarity slot, so that's really good. You have your choice there. You have 2 really good choices. I prefer Tempo Royale just because it's an awesome stance, it looks really cool, it does a ton of damage, has really good damage multipliers on some of the final hits of some of the combos, and the combos are very easily executable. I use Tempo Royale, I'm in that camp, that's just me. It's a player preference thing, you can really go with either one. Also, Cleaving Whirlwind is a lot easier to get than Tempo Royale is nowadays. So, as for the mods here, we've got Pressure Point, that's pretty much a no-brainer. You're going to be using this on just about every melee build you do. It just gives you 120% extra melee damage across the board, so it increases all these damage types here. This Impact, Puncture, Slash, and your elements, it'll increase the damage of those. Jagged Edge was a mod that I have a hard time choosing because I typically don't use physical damage mods. If you guys have been checking the comments that I've responded to or watching some of my other videos, you'll know that typically I don't go for physical damage type mods. But honestly, I couldn't really find anything else to put here. I could have gone with a Spoiled Strike, but that would have decreased our attack speed, and I felt like that wasn't really worth it, because melee, like when you have speed on your melee weapon, that actually translates into DPS, because melee weapons don't have to reload, there's no stamina in the game anymore like there used to, so you can just keep swinging as much as you want, and the faster you can swing, the faster you can deliver damage. So I've gone ahead and omitted Spoiled Strike, and I threw in the Jagged Edge here because I typically use the Galatine against enemies that are weak to slash damage, like the humanoid enemies in the Corpus units, and the Infested. Those are both weak against slash procs and slash damage will typically go through Corpus shields, which is really useful, and so I figured that a Jagged Edge was really good here. If you have Buzzkill, that's the better version of this. You can use that, but it will require you to use a Forma. Also, I threw in a Primed Reach. Primed Reach is going to increase the weapon's range, so the attack range where you can actually get a hit. It basically just extends the hitbox of the weapon, which is really nice. On Galatine, I know a lot of people use Primed Reach, but honestly, I couldn't really see that much of a difference. It doesn't really feel that different to me, because I get so up close and personal when I'm meleeing, but it does make a difference. It's there. A lot of people will recommend this, and I had a hard time not choosing Primed Reach for this. If you do want to get it to rank 10, it will require you, however, to use a Forma, because we are at 9 out of 10 here, and if you get it to 14, that will require 1 extra capacity, so you're definitely going to need that. Especially if you're going to use a Buzzkill, you need a Forma for either one of those. If you just Forma the Primed Reach, that'll take care of both of those problems. Now, Life Strike was a really good choice for this weapon. I like Life Strike. I like having the option of getting my health back. On some weapons, especially with the release of those event mods, I've been having a hard time fitting this weapon in. But I did choose Life Strike, and I'm very happy with that choice. The weapon does a lot of base damage. It does a lot of damage per strike, which is going to be a great candidate for Life Strike here. Basically how Life Strike works is you get 5% of the damage you do as lifesteal, which is really nice when you're doing 5 to 15k damage a strike. You're going to get a lot of your health back. One thing with Life Strike, though, if you guys are new to this mod, don't ever rank it up. It's going to cost too much when you swing, because you do have to activate this by channeling, which means that you have to have your melee weapon equipped when you get Life Strike. Fury is the next mod that I've chosen here. This was pretty much a no-brainer, as I wanted to increase the already pretty fast attack speed for this weapon. For a heavy blade, this weapon swings pretty quickly, and I wanted to increase that further with attack speed, and Fury offers that. Now, attack speed, like I said earlier, is going to increase our DPS, which is the damage that we do per second and over time, essentially. So the more speed you have, the more DPS you can do, theoretically. My elements here are kind of whatever. You can switch these out for a lot of different things. Now, a lot of people will say, why not switch Jagged Edge out for another 90% elemental? Here's my reason for that. Sometimes having 3 elementals, so having a combined elemental and a single elemental, is more useful than having 2 combined elementals. For example, Corrosive and Blast is 2 combined elementals, and that's really good against Corrupted Ancients. However, it's not fantastic against everything. Sometimes having Corrosive and Heat is really good, sometimes having Corrosive and Cold, and in this case, having Magnetic and Toxin is really good against Corpus. The Toxin proc is going to go straight through their shields, and it's going to damage their health directly, which is really nice. And the Galatine has somewhat of a status chance. It has 20%, which is decent. I did try modding this weapon as a status weapon. It didn't really go very well. I just decided to go for straight damage here, which is why we have these 3 90% elemental mods and no status chance mods. So you can use this against Corpus. This is really good. Magnetic will take care of the robotic units and the shields of just about any Corpus unit. And then you have the Toxin that goes in and goes straight for the health of the other units. Now, if you're going against Infested, you kind of have 2 choices here. You can go with Corrosive and Heat, which is a really good choice. It's good against a lot of the infested units. The Corrosive is going to be good against those tougher Ancients, and then the Heat is going to be good against general infested units. And then if you really want to go for the general infested units here, you can go with, you can swap this here and get gas and electricity. Electricity doesn't really do too much against infested, but it's not bad against them either. So I've gone ahead and put this together here. I showed you guys in the B-roll footage earlier how this weapon performs against both of those types of enemies, but I want to show you against some really high-level dudes how this works. Let's go ahead and head over to the Simulacrum, and I'll show you against Corpus and Infested, and I'll let you guys decide for yourselves what you think about this build. For the first part of this test, we'll be using a general smattering of infested units to test our gas and electricity build. You'll notice here that gas is super effective against general infested units, but it starts to fall off against the higher level Ancients. Now, Ancients are pretty much the toughest infested units, and the most dangerous due to their high health, the damage debuff they can apply, and high damage potential. Now, it's for this reason that you might opt for a Corrosive Heat build. I just wanted to show you guys that gas can, however, be a pretty underrated element, as it produces a small AoE cloud that damages enemies over time, and when you have infested all over you, that can be extremely helpful. Next up is the Magnetic Toxin build, and we'll be testing this against some of the more common units of the Corpus faction. If you can, notice how a lot of them are losing health despite them having shield left. This is due to the Galatine's slash damage and Toxin damage bypassing the shield. I find this build to be very effective against most Corpus units, and with the results shown here, it's pretty easy to see why. And lastly, because I know how much some of you have been waiting for this, I'm going to show you how badass this build is on an Eternal War Valkyr. Enjoy. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm BouseFeenux, and you just saw another episode of Watch It in Action Galatine Edition. If you like this build, go ahead and check it out on BouseFeenux.com. It's got a full text write-up and an image of the build. I know this was a long video. If you made it this far and stuck around to the end, I really appreciate you for watching. Thank you guys so much. I can't believe how close we are to 4,000 subs. It seems like just 2 weeks ago we were at 1,000, which is just insane. You guys are so supportive, and I love you. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you at the next video. Have a good one.